Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Garment Decorators Podcast. I am super excited to have Kelly with me today from Stahls.
Hi, guys. I'm so excited to be back.
Kelly's been on the podcast multiple times. We all love Kelly. We know Kelly's a genius at all things heat printing and education. So I'm so excited to jump into this topic. Today, we are talking about why telling your brand story is important for business success. And we're going to be covering all topics from how you get in front of the camera, how you feel confident in front of the camera, the best ways to get your business story across to your customers, all things like that. So yeah, it's going to be a good episode today.
I think this is such an important topic, and some people do it effortlessly, and some people really struggle to, kind of put themselves out there. And I think just knowing why it is beneficial or how it could help you, this is just a conversation, and there's different ways of doing almost everything, but this is going to be a really good kind of just overview of easy changes, right? To kind of implement it into your business and hopefully help you excel.
Definitely. And one of the main things that I wanted to cover is something that we get quite a lot of questions about. And it's, I really want to, tell my business story, but I can't film myself. I can't jump on an Instagram story. I can't put myself in front of the camera. And I mean, I get it. I do get it. But at the same time, because we do what we do for jobs, it's really difficult to sort of, it is relatable, and I get why people don't want to do it. And when I look back at my first lives, my first videos, my first podcasts, they're really not good. I don't enjoy watching them. They're super cringy. But I think it's one of those things that you just have to get on board with, do it, and you improve every single time you do it, right? So should we jump straight in with that topic and just maybe give some advice to people about what you would do if you were starting over and if you were in their shoes again?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny because it's not funny. It's unique, maybe odd. I don't know. Maybe it is funny, but so when I kind of took on this role of, video content, it didn't start with in-person education. At one point, I had kind of done a little bit of training for it, or just, gathering the ideas of mapping out content and what to say. Mm-hmm. But in my personal life, I'm just me. So the person that you see on camera is the same person you're going to get, outside of work. Might be a little more chaotic outside of work, but you know what? Life happens. And the biggest thing was, I was asked if I felt comfortable in front of the camera, and the answer was no. I didn't feel comfortable, but I knew the best thing that I could do was do my best to be myself. I didn't need to be somebody else. Yes, I want to have a, kind of a professional or pulled together way of speaking or presenting, especially when I'm representing somebody else's brand on top of, say, my brand. Because believe it or not, Molly's created a brand. I've somehow created a brand in terms of, what people can come to me, or they feel comfortable coming to me and asking me questions about their business. And I hated looking at the camera, like directly in the eye. It made me absolutely nervous. I would forget everything I wanted to say. And then that's when it just became relax, take a deep breath, and just talk like I was talking to a person. So if you're not comfortable in front of the camera, if it hitting record or going live, whatever, absolutely terrifies you, the first thing you could do is just practice recording yourself, because guess what? You can do it 50 times until you get something that is right. I'm not great with a script. So if you're asking me to follow along and read a script, it's going to sound very choppy, and I do better at winging it, but in a good way. Not just not knowing what I'm going to talk about, but letting the words just flow organically. And that really, really helps you just get comfortable, one, seeing yourself, two, hearing yourself. And you know what? If you go live, you can always delete that footage. You can always delete it. Doesn't mean it won't live somewhere, tucked away on the internet, but most of the time people won't see it. And I think that's my biggest recommendation is the more you do it, the more you get comfortable with it. It doesn't have to be a 30-minute, practice round. 2 minutes, give yourself 2 minutes saying something and move on. And, again, experience doesn't have to be doing 10 videos for 30 minutes each. It could be 10 videos of 2 minutes. And next thing you know, you're like, okay, I'm getting a little more comfortable.
Yeah, I think what you said about you don't have to publish your first video, right? You could so easily film 50, like you said. And if you don't like any of them, try again. There's no pressure for you to step in front of the camera and film this amazing video the first time round and it go viral, because let's be honest, that's probably not going to happen.
Right.
We do this all day, every day, and we still don't get viral videos on a daily basis. I wish we did, but we don't. It doesn't happen like that.
We try so hard.
We try. It's always the ones you don't try in as well that go viral, which is so frustrating.
I know. It's so funny though.
Yeah, I mean, I had the same thing, to be honest with you. I don't really remember filming my very first video. I'm not entirely sure. I think because I filmed a lot of product-based stuff as well. So I sort of started off with a voiceover here or there, and it wasn't my face in front of the camera. It was just the heat press and the transfer and the t-shirt. And then I would maybe do like an Instagram story or something. I think my first proper live I did was with Andy, and I think it was like a sit down Q&A. It wasn't even like a practical demo, because that scared the hell out of me. I was like, there's no way I'm doing anything live in case it goes wrong. And I remember Andy having, I don't think I wanted to do it. It's a similar situation. I think I was asked like, oh, how do you feel about this? And I was like, I'm not sure about that, to be honest with you. And then we sat down and he was like, oh, I'll do it with you. Well, I'm probably telling this story totally wrong and this isn't how it happened at all. Andy'd be like, that's not how I remember it. But we sat down and we were in this little room upstairs because the current showroom innovation center that we have was being built, was being renovated. So there were builders in and out, drills and God knows what noise down here. So we were upstairs in this tiny little box room with this table that wobbled so much every time anyone moved, and the whole laptop just was doing this the entire time.
Oh my gosh.
Blurry, the audio was awful. Me and Andy were so awkward. It was horrible.
But looking back on it, do you look at it and you go, I'm really proud of myself for just doing it, and then seeing the content you produce now, it's night and day, and it's like that for everybody.
Yeah, I look back at it and laugh, to be honest. And it's a nice thing to look back on because it is how far you've come in your progress, 100%. But I think the thing I like about that is that I threw myself in the deep end as such, or I wasn't really given much of a choice, but we went with the chuck yourself in the deep end. And then I think my first in-person video piece to camera down here was just something that I'd seen someone else do something really similar, and I was like, oh, this style video is going to do really well for our channel, let me try it with this. And it wasn't the best video. And I think the trouble with filming yourself, it's not just about how you present on camera, it's about how you set it up, how you edit it afterwards. If you're not doing it live, there's so many things that go into it. And I think I got so stuck in my head about how I was acting on the camera, and then when I went into edit, I was like, oh, that needed to be different, that doesn't look right, that. So it's a process, right? Even if you get to the point where you sit down and you go, right, I'm going to do this, here's my notes, etc. You're constantly growing and evolving. Even today, I do it all the time. Every single video I make, I critique and try and do it better next time.
Same. I'm still doing it. My first several videos took me 6 hours to execute, not come up with or plan or organize, but to stand in front of the camera, set up the camera angles. And I am no videographer by any means, and just get comfortable. You hit that record button and words come out and you're like, where was that in my head? How did this just come forward? But the cool thing is I have no problem saying my first videos took me around 6 hours. And then I got it down to 4, and, and then I could get it in 2. And now if I have, somebody standing in front of me recording and I don't have to worry about the camera angles, I mean, I can knock one out pretty fast as long as there's not a lot of moving parts to whatever we're showing. But it's just one of those things, right? The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it, the more efficient you're going to get. And next thing you know, it's just going to be like, yeah, sure. What do you need? I'll say it. What am I saying? What's the topic?
I think it does get to that point. And I remember when we first started filming videos like that in this space that we've got now, I had this really old, the video cameras that like had the flip to the side and were like, they used to hold. We had one of them. And I remember looking at it when I first joined Stahls, and I was like, what is that? I was like, I can't. I was like, no, I just can't. And Andy was like, well, if you want, like, yes, I agree with you. We need better equipment, but we need to make content first to prove we're going to use it, which is fair enough. So that's why all of our first videos are so like a bit blurry and the light's not great, because I know bad workman blames his tools and all that, but the camera was awful. So but I persevered and I was like, no, we're going to make this work, because I could foresee in the future the better quality.
Yeah.
So then we got the better camera that we have now. And then it got to a certain point where we were filming all of these videos. And similar to what you just said about making things quicker and more efficient the more you do it, it got to a point where I would film all of the main video and then you go back and film like some close-up bits and, just to make it nice, easy watching for everyone. And it got to the point where I was like, I need two cameras, because if I set 2 cameras up, you film it all at the same time, and then it's just one filming session rather than 3.
Yep.
So it did get to the point where we then ended up with a second one, and that is how I think now we produce so much content so quickly. And it's kind of, it's half and half, because even though we have a more efficient filming process now, because my quality levels keep going up, they still take me the same amount of time, but the videos are better.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, when you have that equipment too, right? Like there's so much more that you can do to provide a quality video as well. And for those of you that are listening that don't have any cameras or cameras, because
you don't need it. You don't need it.
You don't. And especially when you're just starting out, the easiest thing you could do is create something that's going to not feel like it's a giant task load. So if you're creating a 2-minute video or a 30-second clip that you want to post on social media, not even content for, say, YouTube, where it's a tutorial or really an overview or a breakdown, sometimes the less is better, right? Because you can do everything essentially on your phone or an iPad. I mean, you can even record from your computer and do some editing on that.
Yeah. I guess where I was going with that was more less of a you need all the equipment kind of thing, because I mean, if you're a camera nerd like me, then it's great and it's fantastic and I love it. But you're right, you don't need it all to start. But I guess what I was trying to get to was that if you just start filming with your phone and then you get to the point where you've got too many videos on your phone, or you are a bit fussy with the quality, or you think, oh, do you know what, it would be so much easier if I just had like a little mini 50-pound tripod that I could set it up in, and small gains like that. But you don't want to start off going, right, I'm going to film all these videos, I need this, and this. Start creating the content, and then as you're going, you'll realize what you need as you're doing it, rather than buying things for the sake of it. Like as Kelly said, you don't need all of that to get started. You can just use your phone, hit record and go.
And that's the beauty of it is, and if you're one where you're like, I don't even know what I'm going to say, there's a cool thing called Instagram, TikTok, Facebook.
Have you heard of them? You may have heard of them.
Yeah. Have you heard of them? Are you familiar? All of those things, if you just find somebody that you enjoy listening to, whether it's based on personality or topics of conversation, industry, whatever, watch what they do. That's the best way to kind of have a personal teacher, is you're finding what you can relate to in terms of personality or conversation or intros, what they're saying, how they're saying it, and use that as a guide to kind of develop you on camera. I think the best thing you can do is stay true to you, but there's no reason why you can't have these ideas or thoughts like, oh, that was really intriguing to me. I like how this person presented this, or I like this intro. I hate intros. Like, hey, I don't know what else to say. Hi there.
Let's get started.
Dave Connor says, hey, friends. And I'm like, what's up, decorators? Or, like.
That doesn't flow as nicely as hey, friends, does it?
Yeah. I'm like, I can't say hey, friends now because Dave says it. But it just cracks me up because that's one of the things that gets me stuck is
the first 5 seconds. And you're like, where do I go from here?
What do I say to hi? Like that's all I know. Yep.
I think though, one of the things I take away from that is that you staying true to yourself is such a nice way of putting it, because I remember when I first started, I would watch like the videos that you guys make, and I would watch other like random YouTube videos from a theme point of view or like a way of presenting, and I would try and recreate that. And then as I was filming them, or as I think it's more since I've been doing the lives, to be honest with you, because when you're live you have no choice but to be yourself, because you can't put on a front for that long, and you can't genuinely present like that for half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, whatever it may be. And I think it was more since Beth and I've been doing them together, and I've talked to her, and we have a bit of banter back and forth, and we laugh and we joke about things, and that side of like the engagement has really done well for our lives. And I think from seeing people's reactions to that, I've sort of slipped into a more comfortable way of, oh, okay, so this is what we do on a Friday. Yeah. And silly mannerisms that I have sort of come out, and everyone like makes jokes about it now. And I go on mini rants about people that don't thread their t-shirts, because it really bugs me. Why would you not? If you have threadability, why do you not thread your t-shirt? Things like that. But they're things that like I wouldn't think to say on camera filming myself, but when you're laughing and joking to your audience, it comes out a lot more naturally. Yeah. But the point I was trying to get to in a very roundabout way is that the people that are watching your videos, your customers, if you're a heat printer, they don't care about the quality of your video. They don't care if you've stumbled a few times. They want to get to know you and who you are and what your business is about. They're not going to sit there and go, I don't think they used a 4K camera for that. Or, their mic is a bit off. They don't care. They just want, fair enough. If it's really, really horrible to like listen to and watch from a quality point of view, then maybe. But in general, a phone and Instagram is pretty easy to get right.
It is. That's such the truth. There's always going to be people judging you. And I think that's the biggest thing to kind of keep in your back pocket is you can't ever be perfect, right? There's always going to be somebody that's going to have a thought or an opinion about what you've said in your video, how you said it. Maybe you said too many ums. Maybe you took too many pauses. Maybe your lighting created a shadow behind you. There's always going to be somebody, and that's the sad part of social media, right? It is about putting yourself out there. But I think the biggest thing about doing it is it's key to not try to be somebody else, because that's going to be much harder to maintain and keep up with. And when you are building a business, it's extremely important to make sure that you're capturing what your business is all about. And if that means that your business was started because of something that someone came to you for, then utilize that. It doesn't have to be about your heart and soul, cooking dinner. It could just simply be about being able to watch kids put on their baseball t-shirt for the first time as they're starting Little League.
So once you're sort of comfortable being on camera and you've addressed that side of it, because that is a big deal, right? Getting used to being on camera and getting comfortable with that. That's a huge, huge thing to adjust if you're not used to it. But once you are, what is the next stage in terms of getting your brand story out there? Because that's what we're talking about today, right? How to tell your brand story and how that translates into more sales.
So I think the biggest way to kind of look at this from an overview is any social media with your business name on it, any website linking your business name or what you do is basically a storefront. And each one of these platforms or, social media platforms, if you are on YouTube, if you are trying to do TikTok or TikTok shop, or simply just your website, trying to give people information or capture orders, all of those can essentially have different type of front windows, right? So I'm gonna take this to retail. Each one of those can be designed a little differently, really on what you're trying to accomplish with that platform. So the way I look at it is your website is your home front, right? It's your home store. You want to make sure that you are telling people why you started this business, how you started this business.
I think at that point, people have and so imagine walking into a store, right? Someone has seen your storefront and chosen to enter it. So they're looking for more information.
Yep.
Whereas if they're flicking through social media and come across a post, they might not necessarily have gone searching for that or clicked on that. It's kind of similar to, jumping in an elevator with someone and having 10 seconds to pitch your business before they then disappear to the next post.
Yep.
But the website thing, the second that they've seen your storefront and they've entered, that's your opportunity to give them the information they need.
There are so many people out there that really want to give small businesses or mom and pop shops or medium businesses, right? Because at one point they started small business. And if that means that they can use somebody that has a shop down the street versus ordering from a website that is going to have to mail it, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's just giving people the option to know who they're buying from. And it's not just saying, we can, essentially decorate any type of garment or we can fulfill all your apparel needs. It's really understanding, what we started this with two people, myself and my husband. And from there, we've changed 3 different locations. We are now a team of 15. We pride ourselves on all of that is information about your business. And sometimes people just want something to be able to relate to. So even if it's just briefly mentioning your kids or your schooling, your original degree that maybe you don't even use, all of that stuff can be something that somebody can relate to, and put that in the details on your website. Now, when you get into social media platforms, that's where you should really kind of change what it is you're talking about or showcasing. So essentially your storefront, your front windows are going to visually change.
Yeah. And I think as well, the biggest takeaway from that is how you're delivering that information as well. So including stuff that people can relate to, but regardless of your business size, if you, like Kelly said, if you did start it with your husband or your business partner or whoever, and it has grown to a much bigger machine now, or whether you are still running your business on your own and you've just increased your output and you're more efficient now, there's going to be relatability in that as well, because you might have somebody else that has a side hustle that's slightly different and they can, relate to the struggles of running a business on your own, or they understand what that order will mean to you and things like that. There's always going to be some way of communicating with the customer that's about to place that order from you. And like we've said from the beginning, telling your story might make them more inclined to place that order anyway.
And in the process, right? What's the experience or process that they're going to go through when placing orders? Because I think there's a lot of people that don't understand the whole printing side of the world. They just know they need a t-shirt and they need
which is fair enough, because
logo.
did you before you started at Stahls? Neither I didn't.
Well, I did kind of because I was in apparel, but
You had good history. I walked straight in and I was like, what's a transfer?
my background is definitely in apparel and customization and sportswear and retail. So yes, I did, but just working with customers that are new to the industry, I'm not a graphic artist. So, I had to learn why certain art would not work for certain printing methods. And I'm not saying that's information you need to put on your website, but there could be this idea of elite customer service and making sure that you're getting, the best garment with the best decoration method for your design. And people want to know that they're going to get that.
But that's why they're coming to you as the printer, right? They're coming to you as the expert because they don't know that stuff. So regardless of how much information you choose to give them, I think providing you can simplify it for them and say, I think this will work for what you, because 9 times out of 10, the customer's going to come to you and tell you what they want. So you can go, right, okay, option A would work best, option B would work better. Like, they're coming to you for your expertise. If you turn around to them and go, well, start asking them questions about print, they're going to be like, what am I doing here? I'm going to the competitor next door because you clearly aren't servicing my needs. But the other side of it as well, I think, is minimal touch points. And this comes from any business, any online checkout. Just make it as simple as possible and as easy as possible for the customer, and have as little steps as possible. So from the second they land on your website, make it easy for them to see what services you have, make it easy for them to understand how it works, and make it easy for them to get in touch with you or check out if you have that online checkout process.
Absolutely. That's, people want easy. Our schedules are packed. We're running around everywhere these days. And the more clicks, the harder it's going to be to capture that customer. So imagine having a quick video on your website that is telling them exactly what they're going to get from an experience standpoint. And then in the about, the story, how we got started, whatever page, jot down a little bit of personal information there that you don't want to record. But the best thing you can do is just keep it short and simple. And that same content that you've put on your website, you can break out into different videos or different posts on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. If your goal is to show people what you're capable of, I guarantee you there are elements on your website right now that you could utilize on, in different ways for those social platforms.
That leads me nicely actually into the next point that we discussed before we jumped on this recording, was about pinning posts to your social media and what content you include in those. Because something that Kelly said to me that really stuck with me was that you don't need to reinvent the wheel every few months. If you have a post that explains to the customer who your business or who you are, what your business is, what you do, that post does not have to change. If it's relevant, it can stay there, but pinning it to the top of your profile makes it easy for people to find. It's easy enough on a website because you have the About Us page, you have the services page, and they're easy to find.
Yep.
But people aren't going to scroll months and months and years back to find that post. You need to make it easy for them to find.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, right? Like if you do have a team of people, you can easily go around your shop just kind of showing who is X, Y, and Z, printing co. And right then and there, you are being personal because you're showing people the behind the scenes without giving away secrets, right? You don't need to give away your business secrets. You are, we love this word, humanizing your business, your brand, because there are actual people fulfilling orders, working on the art, packing them, shipping them, working with customers. And then at the same time, there's something that's always a great feeling about real. And, social media over the years, kind of became this picture perfect. Everything is awesome. We'll talk about that movie. Everything is just always in its place, always perfection. And that's not the case. That's not the, real life situation. And the more people can kind of have, this human where they're like, oh, their personality's like mine, or, oh, they really understand the customer. Being able to connect like that just adds another value.
Yeah, I agree. And again, it comes back down to being authentic, doesn't it? And just connecting with the customer on that personal level and having them see, oh, okay, these are real people I'm buying from. I'm going to help their business if I place this order with them, versus the really stock imaged, templatey website from the competitor next door, which was something we discussed previously as well. The pages on your website, don't just use or don't just reword the templates that you get. I mean, if you have someone else doing your website for you, then happy days. But if you are a small business and you're building it yourself on like an online designer, like one of those template websites, which are fantastic for businesses, by the way, especially if you're not a website builder. I am not. I don't understand. They are fantastic, but don't just use the brand template as your brand page. Like, make it your own. Change it up, add some new things in there, chuck a video in there, like Kelly said, and really make it reflect your business and who you are, rather than have it look like every other brand page that's on the internet.
That's just get yours, right? Like, that's the biggest thing, is you have a brand name. I think most people have a logo, right? So you spent time creating that, and most of the time creating something that kind of speaks to your heart. So align that with everything on your website as well. Use the colors, change the colors, upload icons, different types of graphics, customer photos. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I absolutely love seeing the work that people produce for others. Not just in my role, with Stahls, but as a consumer, I want to see what these businesses are created. I want to see, if I'm going to pay somebody to make me something, I want to see the opportunity.
Do you know what I think that reminds me of? Again, relatability is, you can look at a polished picture or a polished product photo, but if you've got a picture that somebody's uploaded of that product, you can see how good it really is. And I do it all the time with not just apparel, but anything I buy online. I always go on the reviews and look at the photos the customers have uploaded once they've received it, because I'm like, that's what I'm getting. I'm not getting the polished photoshopped image that's on the website. I'm actually getting that realistic product. And I absolutely love that. I think it just makes it so much easier for the customer to make that decision, because they see the quality, they see how happy the customer is, or the other customer, and they go, yep, sold. You can have my order.
Yeah, that's footage you already have, right? Like, that's a visual you already have. So there's no reason why you can't go post that on your social channels that you need to. And each one can kind of talk about something different. I think one of the coolest things is to really show the art and then the after product. So you see, just the graphic. Here's a customer's graphic. Maybe it's a sports team, and your finished look is a jersey with customization and a really cool decoration method for their logo, whether you are doing some type of dimensional product or it's raised, it's got a special effect to it. All of that is something you can easily show, how you took a flat image and turned around and brought it to life. And again, that's all about branding who you are as a business as well.
And that's so easy to do as well, like reels, 5-10 seconds of a video before and after. That's super quick and easy to do.
Yep. You don't always have to show your face. I think it is important to show your face because people want to see who's behind the channel. People want to see who's behind the material, the business. And I mean material as in terms of like the content that you're seeing. But people want that person association. So even if you're like, no way, Jose, I am not getting on camera, I am not posting on social media, then find somebody that will, because that's taking care of your brand in this century.
So that was going to be my next question, right? Do you think it's important? How important do you think it is to have one person representing the brand rather than multiple? So, I mean, what you said before about going around your shop, if you have employees and introducing everyone, that's very different to having somebody on camera all the time talking to the customers. Do you think it matters if there's more than one person doing that? How consistent does that person need to be in terms of, obviously at Stahls, we have, so in the UK, it's Andy and I, but then in the US, you've got you've got Dave, you've got Jenna, you've got Mia, you've got multiple people that do the content side of things. But compared to how many people work at Stahls, it's a tiny percentage of people that are actually on camera. So if you're running a smaller business, should it be one person? Should it be two? Should it be three? Is it going to be confusing if it's a small business and there's three of you and people are sort of like, oh, I'm not really sure who does what in this business or which product page I'm on at the moment or something like that?
I think, one, that's an incredible question. And I've got opinions actually on both. And a podcast I recorded last week with Ashley and JJ Marcus, they have 3 different types of businesses. One is basically retail decoration, so retail caps that they decorate on, they have their own brand they sell. The second one is customized products. And then the third one is a marketing business. And at any point, they can all tie together. It's just those two. There's no team. There's no staff. They're the ones doing the art, the production, packing, sending out, meeting with the customers. And to me, I think if you were to have multiple people attempting to be the face of that, that would be really confusing. I think it could just be one. And it doesn't even have to be one all the time, but just giving people the idea, like, who is behind this? Who owns this business? It's not a bot, across the country or on the other side of the world. There's an actual person. And I think it's few times can be great because I'm sure their task list is extensive, and the idea of posting, once a week with their face on it might give them an unease feeling. If you look at a company like Stahls or a large business with hundreds of employees, there's no reason why you can't have multiple people. And with that quantity of people, you might even have several people that would be willing and happy to be your front facing person. And they could be the one in the back with production, right? So it's just kind of creating that individual that doesn't mind at least trying or attempting, or isn't going to have extreme self-doubt if that's what the owner does. And then from there, I think the smaller the business, it really just depends on the point of you being in front of the camera. If you are really wanting to, again, humanize, make that person association with that brand, you're going to have to be in front of the camera. You're going to have to show some face, definitely more frequently. If you're trying to establish a brand and create point people, kind of, which I would call you, myself, Dave, Josh, Jenna, anybody on the content marketing team, then there has to be basically a team that's going to do it because of the requirements of all the attention, right? From YouTube to all social media platforms. We do podcasts, we do webinars, and only having a couple of people do that is a quite extensive task load.
It's a lot. We do a lot when you think about it.
It is so much. My task list just tripled overnight. And you know what? That's okay, because it's that content creation time, and that's just kind of how content works. You can batch create and then use that to spread it out. Don't look at it as a task that has to be done every single day, unless that's your work preference.
I think it depends how you want to work, doesn't it? And I mean, before we move on to that, because I really want to get into that, like how you actually produce this content.
Yeah.
But before, I just want to touch really quickly on something you said about it could be the person that might be the face of the business might be the person that's in production, or the person that you wouldn't necessarily think to be the front facing person. Now, if you're running a business that is yourself and it's, you have to be the one in front of the camera, it takes time and it takes a bit of self-coaching to get to the point where you're comfortable and even confident delivering that content to your customers. But I think it's even more important if you're asking that of someone else in your business, or even if someone else comes forward happily to do it, they are still going to need coaching. They're still going to need encouragement. They're still going to need to be told what they did well, what they could improve on in a nice way. But I think, making sure that you're giving that person that support because it's a massive ask, being the face and the presenter. So giving them that support that they may or may not think they need from a business owner point of view is really important.
It's just like any other role. If you're producing quality work in production and you're highly efficient with minimal errors, right? Like, you want to know that you are good at your skill, your craft. And hopefully, as a boss or a manager, a leader, whatever, people are relaying that information. Same thing goes for if it is, hey, we keep messing up, what's going on? Or, our efficiency has decreased, where are we getting held up? Having those conversations of openness and guidance is still very, very important on a social media front, because that person is representing your brand. And that's where you've got to keep in mind that you can't just go all willy-nilly. There's got to be a little bit of, hey, this is how I would like to approach this. Let's try to figure this out.
And I think, like you said, from an efficiency point of view, I've tried before to just come down into our showroom, our little film area, and shoot what I thought I wanted to make. And it was a massive waste of time, because in my head, I was like, I know exactly what I want this to look like. I've got all of my stuff ready. I had no structure. I just didn't really know how to start, how to finish, I was just all over the place, and I wasn't enjoying the process at all. The edit was awful. We binned that one. That one never saw the light of day. And that's happened a few times. But my point being is, even if you have a short list of, this is what I want to achieve out of this is what I want it to look like, silly things like that, you don't necessarily have to have, like Kelly said, a script, because not everyone's good on script. I'm terrible at reading a script. But you have to have structure, and you have to have some sort of idea of what you want it to look like, and have a rough plan, because if you don't, it is just going to be a massive waste of time. And if you have a plan, you'll get there quicker than if you just go down to wherever you want to film and go, right, what should we do now? Because you'll spend half an hour figuring it out first.
Or doing those constant retakes if you're just recording and not going live. So when it comes to content, do you want to move on to
I think we should move on to the physical creation. Yes.
Yeah, that was like the perfect flow into it. I'm curious, how do you map out, or where do your ideas come from? What's your creative process?
So it's really difficult, because I think anyone with a creative brain is a little bit all over the place regardless. I think that's just how our brains are wired. I have to do like brain dumps every now and again, because it will get to the point where I'll have so much in my head that I just have to get all of these random ideas down on a piece of paper, and then I can sort them out. But in terms of content, I try in recent months, since we've had, because we've had more people come on board, our structure's changed a little bit here. In having more time to create content and more long form YouTube content, which is what I love to create, I have an organized board online, and I write all of my ideas down, and then within each one I map out like what garments I want to use, what transfers I want to use, what I'm giving the viewers from the video. Like, is this a how-to? Is it an efficiency? Is it how to make more money? Is it a what's the word? Troubleshooting video.
Yeah, tips, tricks.
So I list all of those, and then we always have a schedule for like the coming months, similarly to what I know you guys have. And I just make a list. I'm like, right, this one has to be done by this date. This is the deadline. It's going to take this long to film. But that all comes with time, right? So when I first started doing this, I would literally come up with a video idea, figure out how to film it, go downstairs, film it, go upstairs, edit, and be like, right, that's done now. Let's move on to the next one. But because our output has increased and we've got so many topics we want to cover and if you release one video a week, yes, that's 52 videos a year. But in terms of what you can cover in our industry, that's nothing. Like, if you had the capacity to produce one a day, there would still be too many videos to produce. So yeah, that tends to be how I work now. I sort of make a list for the following month. And I mean, it works differently with events and stuff, because you often batch film a load of stuff at events and then you have to work your way through editing that afterwards. But in general, when we're just here at the Innovation Center, I'll group a couple of months together. I'll figure out which ones are going to take the longest to film. I'll get all the stuff I need. I will batch film. So if I know I'm going to have all my filming stuff out, I'll film 2 or 3 at the same time. And sometimes that goes really well. And sometimes I can't get my words out. I film one and I give up for the day. That happens sometimes.
I know that feeling. And we're done here.
We will not be continuing today. Move on, shut the door, continue tomorrow. But that's to be honest, that's how I do it. And then the edits are another thing in themselves. They take a long time, but I mean, that's not something that I think anyone telling the brand story really needs to worry about at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you do it? What's your process?
You're
like, right, here we go.
I have a lot of different processes. And I guess the first thing is, what's the topic, right? The first thing that I think of is how can I make a title? So if I am listening to somebody speak, I'm having a conversation with a decorator, maybe it's with one of our sales managers or somebody else in our team, and they say something that has a trigger for me, I will immediately write it down. And the first thing I try to do is, what's the title going to be? And the reason being is because we can't have everything be how to. We can't have everything be what is blah or what are trends, right? So I try to think of it in terms of, if I am talking more products or solution specific, how can I make it be known that it's not going to be a sales conversation about why you should use the product, but more about why you can benefit from this product? And that's where I will really try to start the mapping. So idea of the title, which of course can change, but at least gives me that starting point to kind of build out the next flow. And I always have an intro into a little snippet of what this video or content is going to be. And then I have an intro into the creation or the production, or just kind of a deeper dive into markets. And once I know kind of what that is going to be, I've got my overall topic, how I'm going to make an entrance into the conversation. the next part really just kind of flows very quickly for me. If I know I'm talking about performance wear, then I need to make sure it can have a low temperature. We've got to be cautious of burning the materials like spandex or nylon. Well, not so much nylon, probably more polyester. But there's little nuances that I have to check that really kind of break down where I need to go with it. Now, if we were talking about products that you could sell to the restaurant industry, we could be talking about hats, we could be talking about t-shirts, polos, aprons, towels. Like there's so many things that we could talk about. And that is when I would typically look at what type of restaurant. So I always try to go a little bit deeper into either the market, the product, why the blank is making sense. And then it's just kind of like you said, it's a brain dump. I'll sit and I'll dwell on it. And once it starts forming, it just goes bing, 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 bing. And then
it hits a certain point, doesn't it? And you can spend an hour, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours thinking about it.
Yep.
And at some point, something will click, and you'll just go, "I can see the finished result. I know what I'm doing now." And it's so weird how that happens. But I think what you said about being specific is really, really important, because that's the advice that we give people when they're starting their business. We're like, don't just start a music tee. We're like, go for the genre, go for the specifics that is going to be a niche and is actually going to get people's attention. So it's same thing with content. Like you're going to get, I mean, we're talking from our point of view now at Stahls and, helping decorators, and it's slightly different, I suppose, from a printer to end user point of view. But we don't want to create videos that are not going to reach as many people and not help as many people. And if we're creating a video about somebody that's producing food for a cafe versus a high-end Italian restaurant, for example, totally different products. And to people selling into those different industries don't need one generic video, they need two. So it is about being specific. And I suppose that translates into your business as well. You can, be super specific about the products that you print, the detail of, say, for example, you have 3 or 4 different t-shirt options available. Talk about the blends, talk about how they feel, talk about how they wash, what you could use them for. Is it a more like high-end brand luxury finish? Is it something that you're going to use for sport? It doesn't just have to be about what we're trying to do in terms of educating you. Details and specifics matter at every single point in the communication process.
The thing about, I would say, the outline doesn't necessarily have to change. The questions you're asking or the goals you're wanting to accomplish can. So if you are a decorator and you're like, I don't even know what I'm going to post. People enjoy boxing videos. People want to see like, oh, that's my order being packed. Or maybe you do something extra and you add in some stickers and a business promo item. That way they know they have something to hold on to and they can remember you, right? Showing that is showing the experience that people are going to get when it comes to opening that box.
So they want it, right? They see it and they're like, oh, my order, I get that. I get to do that.
So the biggest thing is make a list. And sometimes that's the easiest way to start generating ideas or building or get that brain full of the bing, bing, bings that I mentioned. And if your goal is to show people what you are capable of doing, then that could be something so simple as showing that graphic and showing that finished product, showing an entire list or lineup of items you've decorated the last month. And it doesn't have to be every single item, but maybe it's a different type of item that you're showing. Those 2 types of videos get the point across on what you are capable of doing. Mm-hmm. Now, if you want to show where you're located or, about the business, take a quick tour around the office. You can do it jokingly if you have an office where your computer, your customer service, your invoicing, your accounting, your HR, and you're also production. There's nothing wrong with being like, hey, that's me. Oh, that's me too. Yes, that's me too. And,
that's so relatable for so many businesses though,
right?
isn't it?
And especially startup businesses. There's just a lot of different ways you have to just make, here, let's keep it simple. Make a list of 5 things that you would like to do and achieve in content with your business. And that can consist of highlighting your team, giving your team support, showing what you're capable of, the background of your business, where you're seeing a shift in trends, what you're capable of creating in terms of, garments and accessories, your favorite items. Love decorating on this shirt.
One of our customers actually does that really well. So we have a customer called Brand Essex, and they are based in Essex, funnily enough, but they do videos all the time, but they just jump on stories and go, we've got this new jacket in from Stormtech. They go over the features, the zips, the quality. Right, we can print on this. It's going to be this much. And they get customers DMing them going, oh, I want one of those. Like, let me know how much. Or they'll do a video that says, oh, we just got some more stock of these. And a customer will message and go, totally forgot to order that last week. Chuck me 10 of those through. Like, just being present there and telling people what's going on. It doesn't have to always be salesy.
So one of the biggest things to consider is not everybody gets to touch and feel all of the products that you get to touch and feel, or that you get to see because you've had SNS or Alpha Broder or Sanmar come in and, show you products or get samples. So if you have found an item that is eerily similar to maybe a retail brand or something that you're seeing, trending that everybody is wanting, one of the most powerful things that you can do is basically tell your audience, tell potential customers that you have found a solution. So you like the Nike Dry Fit tee. Guess what? I know we can still print on Nike Dry Fit, but maybe they don't want to pay for Nike Dry Fit. They want something different. That gives you the ability to say similar, very similar cut, very similar style, but we love how it turns out decorated. Just something to kind of ramp up and highlight this product, but letting people know that you can still produce items that people want. It's not just about a basic t-shirt. There's so much more that goes into garments today, from being sustainable, recycled products in there, the fits. There's a whole bunch of different weights. We've got lightweight and tri-blends, and then now we're seeing, heavyweight cotton tees coming back. So it's just how you want to set that up. But if you don't tell, people don't know.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of, this is a bit off topic, but have you tried the new Bella Canvas Eco Tee yet?
I think so.
It's so the one that's made with scraps from the 3001 and the 7 plastic bottles. It's such a nice finish. That's regardless of the episode. That's really authentic. But if you get the chance to, you should, because they're really cool. I printed on one the other day and I was like, this is so soft.
I'm gonna have to go check some of my teas, because I know there has been some eco conversation lately with like what some of our garments are, but now I'm gonna have to go see.
Oh, check. If you have one, try them. They're so good. That's totally irrelevant. A little bit promo for Bella Canvas there, but I do love those t-shirts. What else did I want to mention today? Yeah, I mean, the only other things I wanted to get across to the listeners really was how they can build trusting connections with their audience, and how supporting, small businesses and sharing that story of growth as a business can really help grow your sales and grow your customer base. And I think we've covered a lot on that.
Yeah.
If anyone has any further questions or wants us to expand, then do let us know below, and I'm sure we'll be happy to jump on and dive into different parts of this in more detail, because we could talk on this all day.
We really could. And I think that's just because content is always evolving, right? And if it's one of those things where you start small now, don't jump into it knowing that you need to change your entire world, with just content in general. We talked about pinning those posts. Give yourself 3 posts to do. That way you can pin them to the top of TikTok or Instagram. I don't think you can pin posts on Facebook Reels because Reels are just a part of your profile. But
no, I think you can pin like a post to the top of the page though. So it might be like if you do like a graphic or something, maybe that might work.
Yep. And maybe that graphic leads you to the website where a video is, or, even a different platform. But the biggest thing is give yourself 3 to create. And if it takes you 2 months to create it, great. You still did it. You got it done. And just pay attention to what that content does. And if it's one of those things where in 3 months you're like, yeah, I got to redo that, you have the power to do that. Otherwise, if you're happy with it, leave it there until it becomes irrelevant. Because, if you've changed shop locations, or you've had a complete change in, those that work with you, those are all things that you can update. But just keep your goals small in terms of content, and then build on from there.
Yeah, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It doesn't have to be this massive daunting task of, I need a whole YouTube page, I need to post a video every day. It's make it manageable for you. And one thing I will say before we wrap up is at the UK's biggest trade show, Print Run Promotion, that we had back in February, I think it was, one of the sessions I did was how to market with no marketing department. And that's a slightly different topic to it's relevant, but it's not exactly what we've spoken about today. We've covered more, the confidence of getting in front of the camera, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I did cover how to market without a marketing person or department and make it manageable for your business, so you're not creating a load of extra work. That session wasn't recorded, but we are going to do it as a live webinar at some point in the coming months. So just make sure you're keeping an eye on our YouTube page for that. And it will be coming out, I would say, probably in the next couple of months. I'm planning to do that one again. And I know we had a lot of questions from people wanting to watch that back and attend it. So we will definitely be doing that. So I think that goes very nicely with today's episode. I think we're ready to wrap. We've been going for an hour. I don't want to talk people's ears off too much. I'll happily jump back on another episode with Kelly if you guys want more advice and conversation on this. But Kelly, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to sit down with me and have this conversation.
Always a pleasure, Molly.
We always have a great time.
We do. That's true.
Thank you, of course, to all of the listeners or all of the watchers. If you're on YouTube, we love having you join us every week for these conversations. Don't forget to like and subscribe on whichever platform you are watching on. And we'll be back next week with another podcast episode. See you later.
Bye, guys.